And I think we're going to see the first evidence of that today in London, of all places, where there is going to be this Unite the Kingdom march, as it's been termed by organisers, including the right-wing activist Tommy Robinson, who is part of this march that's going to start at around 11 a.m, so it'll be live on Saturday morning, live on GB News later. We have a reporter on the ground for that, and we'll be covering it extensively today. And many of the people that I met at the vigil last night on Whitehall, just opposite Downing Street, said that they were only in London to prepare for this march today, and being supporters of right-wing or conservative politics, some of them Christian as well, having a religiosity to their politics as well, they made sure they came down to the vigil as well. Many of them saying that they would come out again today to promote Charlie Kirk's message. While some people have sought to describe some of his messaging as hateful or far-right, we've seen this, unfortunately, also in the British press, if you don't mind me editorialising slightly there by saying unfortunately, because I think it is unfortunate. You know, he was a polite and gentle commentator who engaged in good faith. We might see that again today as well. Now, while some people will disagree very strongly with the organisers of this march today, I think a lot of people on that march, coming from around the country and indeed internationally coming to London today, will be seeking to push forward the message that Charlie Kirk spread and that his wife was echoing last night. And that's very much the sense I got attending that vigil last night, speaking to those people who all said that he was doing politics the right way. And that while some people choose violence and intimidation, and there'll be lots of criticism for any political activists who get involved in that behaviour today, potentially, they'll be seeking that doesn't happen. And the Metropolitan Police will have over 1,000 officers attending. Doing politics the right way is very much the message that Erica Kirk was echoing last night.
A few of our viewers are already saying, is it right to call the people who are going to go to the rally today, is it right to call them activist, or is that not slightly, I don't know, stoking the fire a bit?
Well, I think anyone involved in a political march for a call for action or change in some variety, potentially the term activist implies a greater level of involvement than just attending a march. I mean, the organisers have described them as freedom-loving people, and I think that's their stance on all of those attending. I use the term activist more generally to refer to people who attend marches, or at least, I don't know if I want to call them protesters, because they're attending a march. They could just be promoting a cause rather than opposing a cause.
And is Tommy Robinson, has he always been in some way allied to Turning Point?
I don't know how close his connections are to Turning Point or if he's ever worked directly with Charlie Kirk in the United States. But Tommy Robinson does have a significant fan base in the US. He's one of the most prominent political figures online in the United Kingdom. And a lot of Americans, where they do get their British politics, they're not exactly flicking through the Telegraph and the Guardian in the morning in the US. They are getting their understanding of the United Kingdom through X and through YouTube and through live streamers. And the alternative media scene in Britain, Tommy Robinson is one of the biggest figures.
Many people getting in touch to say they are going on the march today, and they wouldn't describe themselves as activists, they wouldn't describe themselves as right-wing, they certainly would not describe themselves as far-right. They are just concerned. They're just concerned about the way the country is going and the fact that they don't seem to have any politicians that are actually listening to them. They just want to make their presence felt. And they are saying that they don't want any trouble at all, because that is not the way to do things. It's certainly not the way Charlie Kirk did things.
And it's quite disturbing to think about the levels to which people might have to go today to not get any retaliation or blowback in their private lives. I spoke to one person yesterday who told me they were going to wear a wig to attend this march today. Now, the organisers describe them as freedom-loving people. Now, some viewers may not like me describing them as activists, or I wouldn't use the term protesters, but people attending this march, some of them have had to go to great lengths to protect their identity because they fear friends, family, or indeed employers potentially targeting them by virtue of being in attendance. And, of course, face coverings are going to be prohibited. And I certainly feel very uncomfortable whenever I see face coverings at events like this, or indeed in public in general. I think the fact that people can just walk around in balaclavas in central London, really concerning stuff.
I'm glad that's the case, because it's normally the Antifa counter-protests that are very, very fully masked up and very aggressive.
Or indeed people just about to commit crimes. That's often the case in London. If I see a young man with a balaclava, I know something negative about to happen.
It is frightening, because you wonder why they're doing it.
Well, there we go. So, because that's not the sort of thing that people, I think, attending this march would do, they're taking alternative measures to protect themselves, such as wearing wigs or wearing hats, wearing sunglasses, changing their outfits. And there'll be lots of flags. And I think people will be seeking to blend in as much as possible.
Is there a counter-protest today as well, Charlie, in London?
Yeah, we are expecting counter-protesters from anti-fascist organisations, as they describe themselves. Stand Up to Racism, the campaign group that has been conducting so many of these counter-protests outside asylum hotels and HMOs around the country over the summer. They will be active again today. I think a lot of people on the left and the far left who are activists involved in this sort of activity, they do see this one as, if you don't mind me saying, like, the big one. This is the big challenge for them this year, this march, because in part, Dawn and Anne, the people arriving who are going to be taking part in this march aren't going to be the usual people they target. They're not going to be, quote, committed activists, the people who always go to these sort of events. We're expecting such a large crowd. I expect many of the people attending this march today, it'll be their first time ever going to a protest or a demonstration of this kind.
And just one very quick point, Charlie. It's interesting that the counter-protesters are assuming, because they're holding anti-racist banners, that everyone concerned on the march are racists.
Yeah, and we've seen this trend throughout the summer at the migrant hotel protests. Two crowds totally separated, myself as a reporter and many of our colleagues at GB News standing in the middle, trying to speak to both sides, only getting through to one. And when we do speak to the counter-protesters, they will just deride the opposite gathering as Nazis or far right. Now, I think that is bad politics. We're going to try very hard to speak to everyone today, as we always do. Anyone who wants to speak to GB News is welcome to do so.
OK, Charlie, your show starts at 10 o'clock and we'll be covering that in full there, so you don't want to miss that. Thank you very much, Charlie Peters. Charlie is back at 10 o'clock for you.